Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Cody Stromberg. I'm the Public Information Officer for the Herriman City Police Department. Joined here today by Chief Troy Carr, the Herriman City Police Department, Chief Deputy Brandon Holt, the Chief Deputy United States Marshal for the District of Utah, Deputy Chief Chad Reyes, and Supervisory Deputy U.S. Marshals Nick Chornos, Manuel Scott, Council Member Sherry Orn, Council Member Stephen Shields, Lieutenant Brian Weidmer, City Manager Brett Wood, Director of Administration and Communications Tammy Moody, Councilmember Jared Henderson, Councilmember Clint Smith. Thank you for coming out this afternoon. We wish that it were under much better circumstances. Chief Carr will read a prepared statement. Following Chief Carr, Chief Deputy United States Marshal Brandon Holt will have some remarks regarding the operation itself, and then we'll go to that point.
Thank you and good afternoon. I'm Troy Carr, Chief of Police for Herriman City. Last night, February 13th, 2020, at approximately 11:30 p.m., members of the Herriman City Police Department were assisting the United States Marshals Violent Fugitive Apprehension Strike Team, or VFAST, in locating a wanted felon in the Salt Lake City area. The HPD assigns 2 task force members on a part-time basis to assist VFAST investigations and in removing dangerous individuals from the streets of our community. One of those task force members is Sergeant Ben Ricks and his canine partner, Police Service Dog Hondo. VFAST task force members located the wanted individual, who then fled on foot. Sergeant Ricks deployed PSD Hondo in an effort to apprehend the suspect. At some point during the deployment, the suspect produced a handgun, and task force members fired on him. While he was attempting to engage the suspect, PSD Hondo suffered a gunshot wound to the sternum. PSD Hondo was transported to an emergency veterinarian hospital, where he tragically succumbed to his injuries. Sergeant Ricks, his wife and children, his HPD family, and the entire Herriman community are heartbroken and mourn the loss of a tremendous canine partner and friend. PSD Hondo, a 7-year-old Belgian Malinois, came from Europe and began his police service on October 29, 2015. PSD Hondo was highly decorated in his career, winning many titles and awards at both in-state police canine competitions and annual international canine trials. He was responsible for well over 100 felony arrests and for taking hundreds of pounds of narcotics off the streets of both Herriman and Salt Lake County communities. PSD Hondo was a critical member of the 2014 canine team that placed first in the world in international trials. The true warrior fights not because he hates what is in front of him, but because he loves what is behind him. PSD Hondo was a true warrior, and his actions last night ensured that his loving friend and partner, Ben, would be able to return home to his wife, children, and the HPD family. We mourn the loss of our member of our family, but we honor his sacrifice. We would ask members of the media and the public to respect the privacy of Sergeant Ricks and his family as they grieve. We appreciate the many members of our community who have reached out to us with words of deeds and love and support. We will continue to lean on our community family over the next several days and weeks as we navigate this terrible tragedy. Thank you.
At approximately 11:45, the United States Marshals Service Violent Fugitive Apprehension Strike Team last night was involved in a fatal shooting near 400 East, 300 South, Salt Lake City. At the time of the incident, officers were pursuing a violent parole fugitive. The fugitive was also a suspect in the February 8th, 2020 homicide in North Ogden. The North Ogden Police Department, Adult Probation and Parole, had requested the assistance from the U.S. Marshals Service and VFAST to help locate the fugitive. Officers located the suspect on foot in the area of 400 East. When officers approached, the suspect failed to comply with officers' orders and fled on foot. Officers deployed the use of a canine in an attempt to stop the arrest. When the canine approached, the suspect pulled out a firearm. Officers engaged the suspect, and the suspect was shot and killed. During the incident, K-9 Officer Hondo with the Herriman Police Department was killed in the line of duty. Salt Lake Metro Gang Unit and the Weber Morgan Strike Force also contributed to this investigation. The Salt Lake City officer-involved critical incident protocol team responded to the scene and is handling the investigation. First is to Chief Carr and the men and women of the Herriman Police Department and the Herriman City Council, the Marshals Service for the District of Utah, as well as the entire family of Marshals Service. Sends our deepest sympathies and prayers to all of you at this time. We appreciate all of the partnerships we share that allow us to bring violent fugitives to justice. And I want to stress that the ability for us to take dangerous fugitives off the street is a direct result of the partnerships the U.S. Marshals Service has with our federal, state, and local partners. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, Chief Holt and I would entertain any questions that you have specifically related to this incident, and also let you know that we'll be available for one-on-one interviews in the lobby here of City Hall immediately following this conference. Are there any questions?
Did the suspect fire his weapon?
At this point, we are leaving all those types of questions to the Salt Lake City PD and their officer-involved critical incident team. We don't want to get ahead of their investigation.
Can you speak just a little bit more about K-9 Officer Hondo's service to the Herriman Police Department and just kind of his accomplishments over the years he was here?
Of course. Obviously, we've all been here a very short time with the Herriman Police Department, forming officially in September of 2018. Hondo's record of exemplary service goes way beyond that. Obviously, over the years of his career since 2015, responsible for over 100 felony arrests, violent individuals who were taken off the streets due directly to the efforts of PSD Hondo and Sergeant Ricks, as well as investigating multiple narcotics offenses and hundreds of pounds of narcotics that were removed from the streets due primarily to their efforts. He was very highly decorated, as Chief Carr indicated, one of the top K-9 teams in the state of Utah, if not the entire country, and was recognized as such. It was a tremendous loss, not only operationally, but he's a member of our family, and that's really what we try to focus on is the loss to our family. These animals are not just pets. They're a part of our family. They're a part of our HPD family. They're a part of our law enforcement family. And we grieve for their loss in the line of duty the same as we would for an officer. Tragically, when a K-9 loses their life, it's because they did their job. And Hondo did his job last night, which was to allow Ben to return home to his family.
Was Hondo wearing a bulletproof vest?
He was not. It depends. A lot of it is team specific, a lot of it is department specific. There are arguments for and against on both sides. So.
Was Hondo maybe set to retire the next year, 7 years old, was it?
That certainly was on the horizon. Obviously, as with all dogs, they have a lifespan that's significantly shorter than ours. And so at some point they begin to become less effective, where it's not safe for them or their partner to be on the street. So that with Hondo's age, that's certainly something that he was looking at in the near future.
Will Herriman Police get another dog at some point, or is it too soon?
Absolutely.
Why did the Marshals Service want to use Hondo? How did that all come about?
Just as we use in a team atmosphere, we use several different agencies that bring specific assets and intelligence and ability. A K-9 is another very important, and asset to have available, especially when your fugitive is dangerous and may, you know, not comply with commands.
Sure, I understand that you're using it with canine, but why specifically maybe Hondo? Because he's obviously Herriman, and this happened in Salt Lake City.
Sure, and VFAST operates throughout the whole state, and we have partners out throughout the state, including Herriman, and Sergeant Ricks was also a special deputy United States Marshal sworn in with us.
Back to the question about vests, do you guys have vests for your dogs, or not at this time?
We don't at this time. That's certainly something that we're looking into. We have a number of private partners who have approached us, and that's certainly something that we want to take into consideration, recognizing that we'll always defer to the expertise of the handler and their trainer to decide the best use and the best effectiveness of that type of tool.
Obviously, outside there's a huge display from the community. I know I was talking with people earlier who are working on donations for the animal shelter. Just wondering if you guys can speak to what it means to see the community come out supporting you guys.
That may be surprising to members of other communities, but for our community, it's not. You notice on the back of the trucks when we drive around, it says, "We are Herriman," and we truly embrace that. We're a very community-oriented city government. All of our employees are vested in what we do here, looking for long-term solutions to problems, trying to provide the best possible service to our residents, and we treat them as family members. Everything that we do here is focused on treating our community and our employees as family members, and so it may seem surprising in other communities for this type of response, but for us it's not. We know that our community supports us. We know that our community is out there mourning and grieving with us, and that certainly provides us some measure of comfort in this type of a tragic situation.
Cody, has there been any word of some kind of a canine funeral? You know, we saw that video a few years back, and the community was out.
That's certainly our intent. However, we would absolutely defer to Sergeant Ricks and Hondo's family to answer that question. And when they decide that the time is right to have that discussion, we'll have that discussion. And if, in fact, we do have some type of funeral arrangements or service arrangements that are made, we'll make sure that we push those out to you.
How is Sergeant Ricks?
He's doing about as well as can be expected. I mean, like I said before, these animals are way more than pets. They become a member of your family, and tragically, it's only when they do their job that we lose them. And so losing a family member, it hurts, and it'll take a lot of time for them to recover. Anything else? Thank you very much. We appreciate your time. Again, we'll make ourselves available in the lobby if you do have any follow-up questions or things you'd like to discuss. Thanks.